Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be talking about my dream metal amp. Finally got it. It's the JCM 800 2203X. Now this video is not gonna be a product review. This is me just trying stuff with this amp and see how it responds. I kept the master volume very low because it's a very loud amp. I set the EQ to something that works for me personally. I have set the preamp to 9 o'clock, almost all the way. I didn't want to put it all the way because it starts to compress after 9 o'clock. It still sounds open and big and amazing, but I want this video to be a very standardized video. I don't want anything that's out of the norm. So for this video, I'll be using the JCM 800 going into the Fryette Power station, and from that it's going into the Vox cabinet. This has two Greenback speakers. So the purpose of this video is I want to test the JCM 800 with different boost pedals. I will test it with a tube screamer. This is the Maxon TS9Pro, and I'll also use the Clean Boost by MXR. And I'll also use two Fuzz circuits from the Constellation pedal by Crazy Tube Circuits. I'll be using the tone bender and I'll be using the fuzz face. I'll set the gain and volume for each at 12 o'clock. And I'll also use the Treble Booster. So let's get started. I'll be using this guitar. This is the Prestige Ibanez guitar. I'll be only using the bridge pickup for this video. This is the Tone Zone by DiMarzio, and going right into the amp. No modulation, no reverb, nothing. I want to really focus on the overdrive response of the amp. I'll start with no effects, no boosts at all, and it sounds like this. Definitely sounds amazing. Now the thing I love about the JCM 800 is that it's very open. But the word open, many people use it, but it really does not mean anything if you don't explain it. Basically, it responds very well. It's very dynamic. Does not really sound like a full, metal amp like you would expect. But this is why we use the boost pedals. And speaking about that, which is the topic of this video, let's start with the Maxon first. And I'll be using a decimator also because the Maxon gets very noisy when I crank it up. I'll be setting the volume all the way up, the drive all the way down. The tone at 12 o'clock. The separate mid-range knob, I'll set it all the way because I want that mid-range coming from the tube screamer. Let's see how it sounds. It sounds incredible. That's why I love this amp. I mean, the tube screamer or super overdrive or whatever boost pedals they were using in the 80s, this is the prime sound. This is the prime way to get it. There is no better combination for metal and hard rock and that kind of music. I lean more towards extreme metal, but I still really love this sound because it's still very classic. It reminds me of those old school death metal records that were, being produced in the late 80s and being released in the early 90s. You'll be surprised how many of these records were actually using the JCM 800 rather than any other amp. And they were boosting them with just tube screamers or other just simple boost pedals. But let's not go there too much, and let's move into the next one, which would be the MXR Clean Boost. So again, I'll be using the decimator just to get rid of some of the hiss. Now, I'm setting the MXR boost to 12 o'clock. I think more than that, it becomes too compressed. This is how it sounds with the boost at 12 o'clock. sounds really great, but the first thing I notice is that I'm getting more low end. I'm losing some of the natural amp brightness. The other thing is it's not really giving me enough gain to play the way I usually play, and I still don't feel like I use lots of gain. I feel like I would use it only if I need just a little bit more extra gain, but not necessarily with the JCM 800. And I felt like it changed the characteristics and the response. I'm getting lots of made compression, like it's being created by the pedal, but not necessarily adding so much sustain or flexibility to my playing. But anyway, yeah, it's not as usable as the Tube Screamer. And the thing I actually forgot to mention is that I'm setting this guitar to standard D, so maybe the way I'm playing, and I'm not using like very thick strings, so this maybe adds to the sag that I might be getting, but with the Tube Screamer it felt really good, so it could be both. Next, I'll be using the Treble Booster. This is from the Constellation pedal also, and it's based on the Rangemaster. I think it's a very faithful, copy, replica, clone, whatever, and it sounds like this. Whoa, okay. It sounds really nice. The tone-wise, it just sounds incredible, and wow. I'm getting shivers, literally, this is how good the amp sounds like. But I'm setting the Treble Booster, by the way, all the way up. And with the Treble Booster, the gain knob on the Constellation is inactive, so it does not do anything. And the thing is, it does not feel compressed. Although it sounds compressed, it's not actually compressed. And I feel like I really need to pick really hard to articulate the whatever I'm playing. But the one thing I need to point out is when I play solos, I feel like there is more flow and it's a smoother sound than the Tube Screamer. But when I play rhythm, it's the other way around. With the Tube Screamer, when you play solos, you sometimes feel it's a little bit too harsh or it has like more high mids than you would need, which is good to, cut through the mix. But just playing alone like that, in this setting, I felt like the Treble Booster just smooths the sound more. And I think if I were to record a song, I might do a blend between the Treble Booster and the Tube Screamer using the JCM 800. But if I were to play leads, I would focus on the Treble Booster probably. And surprisingly sounds insanely good. I mean, recently I'm actually getting really into Treble Boosters, so I might make a video on that, just demoing the Treble Booster through different amps that I have. So next we'll be going through two fuzz pedals or two fuzz circuits. The first one is the Tone Bender Mark II, also from the Constellation. I think those are very faithful clones, all in one box. I think the Constellation pedal, this is an amazing pedal. Anyway, I set the gain and the volume both at 12 o'clock because I felt like if I use it like the Tube Screamer, putting the gain all the way down and the volume all the way up, it might not react the best way. This is just based on personal experience. Now, I didn't change anything in the amp, by the way, since the beginning of the video, so this is how it sounds like. Okay, I didn't expect that, to be honest. It just sounded and felt like it's too fizzy, and obviously it's a fuzz, so fuzz, fizzy, whatever. But like in fuzz pedals, there is usually a biased knob in some pedals, not usually. Some pedals have the biased knob, which you can get like this spitty sound. It is sometimes attractive to do that with some modern rocks, songs and styles. But with the JCM 800, I don't think this is the best way to do it. So what I'll do is actually put the preamp on the JCM 800 at 12 o'clock also, and hopefully we get something that's more usable for more people. I like the sound. I'm a huge fuzz guy, so I don't hate it, but I do understand that most people will not be happy with that. So with the preamp on the JCM 800 at 12 o'clock, this is how it sounds like. Okay, it has this like wall of fuzz that, by the way, sounds much better with a preamp at 12 o'clock. It has this very fuzzy tone that I think is very usable and amazing. However, the JCM 800 lost most of its characteristics and original tone. It sounds more like a fuzz sound. Now, it sounds amazing, and I think it's hard to get that same exact sound using this fuzz with different amps. And I feel like this is thanks to the JCM 800. But the point is, if you want to use the fuzz as a boost pedal, it might not boost, it will change the sound. It's like using a distortion pedal, like using a metal zone or a rat pedal into the JCM 800. You will end up getting something that sounds very different. Let me go into the fuzz phase and see how it sounds like. Now I'll keep the preamp on the JCM 800 at 12 o'clock and see how it sounds like. If it sounds great, we'll conclude. But if it does not sound good, I might increase the preamp a little bit on the JCM 800. Same on the Constellation, 12 o'clock gain and volume. So this is how the fuzz phase setting on the Constellation sounds like. Now, before I tell you what I think, let me increase the preamp on the JCM 800 to 9 o'clock, like I started with this video. Now, this is with the preamp at 9 o'clock on the JCM 800. So I'm getting the same problem I had with the tone bender before changing the settings on the amp. But I feel like so far this is the least usable sound. I always felt like the fuzz phase sound, if you want it to be more usable, you need to go with single coil pickups, and usually you need to set the fuzz phase in a different way. But the reason why I'm not going to do that is because I don't want to change too many variables that you don't know how the JCM 800 would react. And this is the interesting thing about fuzz pedals, by the way, is that every fuzz circuit behaves differently with different speakers, different amps, and different pickups, and different playing in general. You know, sometimes I'm playing chords, it works. Sometimes I'm playing lead, it works. Sometimes I'm playing different leads, different chords, and it's not working. Now, my overall thoughts on this experiment is that the JCM 800 is an incredible amp, and it is a beautiful pedal platform. Now, I'll tell you my ranking, my favorite effects, and start with my favorite to my least favorite. The best and the most classic, and it's no surprise at all, the Tube Screamer into the JCM 800 is the winner. If this was a competition, obviously it's not, it's subjective, but my opinion, it sounds really good. I think the JCM 800 by itself sounds absolutely incredible, but the Tube Screamer increases the awesome parts about the JCM 800 without really affecting the tone or the feel or the things about the JCM 800 too much. And I think this is why this is still a classic pairing. Now, for my number 2, it kind of surprised me. I didn't know that I would like it that much, but it's the Treble Booster. The thing is about treble boosters is that they are underutilized. I feel like they gained popularity at some point in the late 60s, 70s, but fuzz and overdrives and everything else just took over. But I think treble boosters in front of a cranked amp sound absolutely incredible. So number 3 is the Tone Bender Mark II from the Constellation by a crazy tube circuit. Now, I gotta admit, the first sound setting I tried did not sound great. It sounded okay to me, didn't sound the best. But then when I modified the preamp on the amp itself, I got a really, really good tone that I thought was very usable, more than usable. I have no problem just making a whole video on that specific pairing. It sounded really good. It complemented the amp so much. I feel like it could have been a little bit better if I tweaked the volume and the gain on the pedal even a little bit more, and maybe using a different guitar from this, like maybe using a single coil or a PAF pickup, whatever. It sounded great either way, and I think this opens just more possibilities on what you can do with this amp and with the pedal. So yeah, that's my number 3. My number 4 is the MXR Clean Boost. Now, this is supposedly a very clean boost, and it's not supposed to color the sound too much. And obviously the Fuzz and the Treble Booster and the Tube Screamer colored the sound, but I feel like they gave more accent to the good parts about the JCM 800, but with different flavors that still maintain that JCM 800 sound. But the clean boost, I felt like it was too compressed. You would expect it to just increase the gain, but it changed too much of the characteristics, and I just kept it halfway. I thought if I used more, it would have been much worse. But yeah, I didn't like it so much, to be honest. Number 5 is the fuzz face. I mean, it could be because of the guitar, its humbuckers, and there is this whole thing on the internet where people are saying that fuzz faces don't sound great with humbuckers. I can see why people say that, because single coil pickups in general sound better in general with fuzz pedals. That's my own opinion. So this could be a huge contributing factor. But I felt like it was not pushing the amp. It was just trying to overtake the sound of the amp and the characteristics of the amp. And it just sounded like a fuzz pedal. It didn't sound like a JCM 800 sound. And I need to admit also that the Tone Bender did the same thing, obviously, because it's still a fuzz pedal. It has lots of characteristics. But it sounded really great, surprisingly really great, and very usable in different situations. But to be honest, for boost purposes, maybe the Tone Bender and the fuzz face did not do a great job just boosting the JCM 800, but just as pedals, the Tone Bender sounded great. But yeah, there's a reason why the Tube Screamer is the classic pairing with the JCM 800, but the Treble Booster, you watch out for that. That really snuck into number 2, and no one's talking about it. Hopefully you can tell me in the comment section which type you liked most. Now, I hope you really like this video. I hope you tell me what you think. I hope you like and share and subscribe, and please share this video on the gear page. I'll see you next time.